are not in compliance with the...
Now they're working together, creating this app showing real-time pollution data, pressuring violators to clean up their act.
Now finally there's a real political will to try to control the pollution.
Times have definitely changed as the U.S. rolls back environmental regulations. China's investing hundreds of billions of dollars in clean energy, like this wind turbine factory, and a Chinese tech firm buying into U.S. electric car maker Tesla. Many Chinese are fed up with toxic smog, a deadly byproduct of decades of economic growth, believed to kill more than 2 million people in China each year. Other countries have experienced pollution, says this man, so we have examples of how to deal with it. The world's biggest polluter hopes to put bad air in the past, as the second biggest now faces an uncertain environmental future.
Will Ripley reporting how this all comes as President Trump prepares to meet with China's president in Mar-a-Lago this week. I want to bring in someone who knows quite a bit about climate change. Andrew Steer is president and CEO of World Resources Institute, a global research organization that was actually involved with the Paris Climate Agreement. So thank you, sir, for joining us. Does the U.S. risk relinquishing its role as a global leader on climate change policy, and do you see danger in that?
Yes, it does, and yes, I do. The United States has been a remarkable leader over the last 8 years, together with China, actually. We have a historic deal. We wouldn't have had it without that. And without American leadership, we will be in a much worse state than we were, and the United States also will suffer. And of course, China sees very much this as part of its own economic interest. I mean, one of the reasons why they're investing more than twice what we're investing in renewable energy is because that way they're able to drive down costs. They now have a major export advantage. So too in electric cars. They've now overtaken us in electric cars. Last year in China, 200,000 electric cars were registered. They're investing massively, and they, of course, will gain the competitive advantage.
But here's how the EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt responded when he was asked about this specifically on Fox News today. Let's listen.
The point is that President Xi is more committed to Paris than the United States is.
But is he more committed in action indeed? And the answer is no. We've demonstrated through the steps we've taken already at pre-1994 levels, because that technology, we can burn coal in a clean fashion. We shouldn't have this commitment by the U.S. government to say that fossil fuels are bad, renewables are good. The U.S. EPA and the U.S. government should not pick winners and losers, Chris. And that's what's happened the last several years. And we've demonstrated that leadership.
How do you respond?
Well, Mr. Pruitt is right to say the American government and the American people and American private sector have been real leaders, and there's a lot to be proud of, but I'm afraid he's totally wrong when it comes to the role of China. China's coal use has already peaked. It's been declining for the last 3 years. On the same week that President Trump announced that he was going to abolish legislation, China announced that 150 coal plants that were planned would not go ahead. And they announced that there'd be $360 billion invested in the next 3 years on renewable energy. That will generate...
It's not fair to pick winners and losers.
Well, it's not a matter of picking winners and losers. It's a recognition that economists have had since the 1920s that if we are polluting and other people suffer, one ought to put some kind of constraints on that in the form of a carbon tax. That's why this year China is introducing a nationwide